My name is Mason Reed. If you can hear me, you're one of the lucky ones still turning the dial and hoping for a human voice. It is 4:13 a.m. Eastern, Monday. The thermometer on the wall says 49 degrees, but the needle shakes like it doesn't trust itself. I'm in the Midlands relay room, under an old public radio station on the north side of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Power is unstable, but the battery racks woke up long enough to push this signal out on 540 kilohertz AM and a shaky link on 6.920 megahertz shortwave when the ionosphere stops acting strange. If 162.55 megahertz weather radio is alive where you are, it's looping stale alerts from 3 days ago. If you're on the turnpike and your dashboard clock blinked at 2 o'clock, that wasn't your car. That was the grid gasping. I'll start with what I know right now. The sky is dark and quiet in the way that makes your ears ring. Somewhere beyond the river, a transformer pops every few minutes and lights the horizon for a second, like a lighter flicked in a deep cave. The water pump in this building keeps coughing air into the pipes because the header tank is almost dry. The FM mast above me, the tall one you can see from I-81 when you come around the curve by Linglestown Road, is standing, but the top beacon went out yesterday at dusk. The EAS encoder still boots, but it can't reach the CAP servers anymore. If the federal pre-roll ever triggers again, I'll let it run. I doubt it will. It's been 11 days since the first flash on the horizon and the last clear voice from NOAA All Hazards that wasn't a loop. You want the truth. You can take it. The first sign that something was wrong wasn't the siren or the flash. It was the silence. 10 days and 20 hours back, the local CBS affiliate went to black. They cut from late-night talk to a slate that said, "Program will resume shortly," with a clock stuck at 0002. No music bed, no ads, just a dead, humming quiet that seemed to soak into the drywall. 5 minutes later, the cable guide froze. Then the cell network locked itself into SOS mode. A half hour after that, a friend at the airport sent a text. "Ground stop east of the Mississippi. A TC hot mics. Pilots crying." I tried WWV at 10 megahertz to keep my sanity. Their time tick was fine. The voice that sometimes reads the geo alerts was silent. It was like the country was holding its breath. Here's how the first day unfolded from this chair. Around 3:40, a low glow started behind the ridge. Not dawn, not lightning. A dirty and steady orange smear. The scanner lit up with county units trying to figure out why anyone downtown would glow. A trooper said the word detonation, then caught himself and said, "Major fire." The hospital sent a mass casualty page across the old pagers that still work when the LTE dies. Then we lost everything above the second floor. Something in the shock wave cracked the trunk line to the roof. I had a handheld with fresh AAs and the old whip. I called to anyone. I got a voice from the West Shore, a woman with a smoker's cough and a calm I couldn't believe. She said the river was moving like a slow animal, and she could see a flat disk in the sky where the glow was brightest, like a lid on a pot. She didn't say the word. I didn't either. We both knew. The first day gave us the playbook for the days after. The power grid didn't die all at once. It sagged. Frequency drifted. Lights dimmed and brightened as if someone were breathing through a straw. The water utility went from boil advisory to no pressure in one afternoon. Phones went from limited service to emergency calls only. The farthest station I could raise on AM was a preacher in West Virginia who talked for 2 hours and then started reading the names he had on a legal pad. When he ran out, he kept calling for more. No one answered. In the gaps, I could hear a bass note in the background, deep and steady, like a generator the size of a building. If you've got a dial that can swing, you know what I mean when I say 8.992 megahertz went hot. Those long, flat words read by a clipped voice, numbers and calls that don't belong to any schedule. I won't repeat them here. If you know, you know. People keep asking me what started it. I've been pulling threads, and here's what I've got. 3 days before the first glow, rail traffic manifests started showing weird gaps. Hazmat cars with no bill of lading, tankers that didn't match the yard lists. A friend in maintenance at the Susquehanna plant said security drills were running twice a day, and no one told the night shift why. The FAA pushed a software update that broke old radios. Air crews were told to use backup frequency sets written on laminated cards from the 90s. NORAD went to round-the-clock readiness and scrubbed their public status page. Everyone said it was an exercise, like they say when they want you to stop asking. Then the satellites started winking. GPS drift was minor, but the timing errors were bad enough that some banks had to do manual reconcile at end of day. I heard a rumor from a guy in a truck stop in Carlisle who swore he had a cousin at a defense contractor in King of Prussia. He said the silent line wasn't silent. He said there were orders no one wanted to read out loud. If you're listening in from outside Pennsylvania, I'm not forgetting you. I've had faint calls from Wheeling, Columbus, and a brave soul on a roof in Detroit, tapping his phone against an old field coil to get a spark tone through the noise so I knew which end of the band to hunt. Leah from Toledo, if you hear this, you cut straight through me 2 nights ago when you said you were watching the river carry porch chairs and dead fish and half a billboard with a smiling family that didn't look real anymore. You said your neighbor kept his Christmas lights up all year, and they were the only thing glowing for 4 blocks. You said they blinked one last time, and then the whole street looked honest for the first time in years. You asked me what to do, and I told you what I tell everyone. Stay low. Stay warm. Don't drink water. You didn't make boil. And if you can sleep, sleep. You did not cry. I did after we hung up. Let me put down a few things that help. Tape 2 contractor bags between 2 chairs and let it drip through a layer of charcoal and sand if you can find any. Then boil. Don't trust clear water. It lies. If you need heat, a terracotta pot upside down on a grill grate set over 2 bricks will hold heat longer than a pan. Shield it with a baking tray tented in front, and it will give you a pocket of warmth without open flame. If you have a hand crank radio, wind it in a steady rhythm and switch hands often so your wrists don't give up. If you're listening on car power, start the engine for a few minutes every hour to keep the battery from dying. Crack the window. Move the car so the tailpipe is clear if debris is close. If you hear a siren on the old civil defense poles, listen for voice after. Most of them are dead. A few still have a live amp, and the county may try to talk through it. I promised you signs of escalation. Here they are. No drama, just facts. On day 2, the state police stopped answering on the usual dispatch channels and started using simplex, car to car, like they were in a war movie. On day 3, a National Weather Service office out west put out an alert in caps that said, "Seek shelter from fallout." I saved a copy and then watched as the server returned 404 the next time I tried to load it. On day 4, a billboard truck with a diesel generator rolled down Front Street with the words, "Remain indoors and do not travel to urban centers," in big white paint on a black screen. I didn't think we had those trucks here. Turns out we do. On day 5, I stopped seeing contrails. On day 6, a map of radiation levels crossed my desk, printed from somewhere inside the University Medical Center. The colors meant nothing to me until a nurse wrote in pen, "This is not dust." On day 7, A convoy with no plates and quiet tires moved east at dawn. 10 trucks, 2 armored, 1 bus. Someone who used to fix radios for the guard told me they were running without TAC call signs, which is like sailing without a name. On day 8, the grocery in Bellevue put out a sign that read cash only, and then crossed out cash and wrote barter. On day 9, I knocked on a door and asked an old man if he had a generator he'd be willing to loan for half a day to run the well. He said yes, and then he said he wanted the hand of the clock to move backward. On day 10, the library opened for 2 hours and gave out as many paper books as you could carry, because the Wi-Fi wasn't coming back. Today is day 11. The birds are quiet, and the rats are not. I keep this line open for call-ins. The phone I use isn't a real phone anymore. It's a box I built from salvage with a patch into the radio rack and a little transformer that hates me. It buzzes when the battery drops below 11 volts. People still find a way to call. Here are 2 I need to put into the record. First, Arturo in Allentown. He runs what used to be a bar, but now it's a room with benches and a stove. He said men in plain clothes came through at night with long cases, and one of them wore a badge on a chain he didn't show. They took the canned fish and left the flour. They said they were with a task force. He asked for a form. They didn't give him one. They wrote down his name on a yellow pad. He said he gave them a plastic bag of AA batteries to make them leave faster. He said he felt like a coward. I told him he kept 4 people fed that night because he didn't fight men he couldn't beat. Second, Janine in Redding. She works at the dialysis center. She said the backup generator burned out because the coolant was old and no one had replaced it in years, and nobody wrote it down. She rigged a belt from a vacuum to keep a pump running, and 6 people watched her hands like she was a pilot coming in on one engine. 4 lived. 2 didn't. She said she can still feel the air on her wrists where the rubber band snapped. She said she would try again tomorrow. I've held back on the theories because I didn't want to be the guy who makes things worse by guessing wrong on a live mic. I'm going to stop holding back now, because silence is a lie too. A man who said he was an Air Force Reserve technician sat on the floor where I'm sitting now 2 nights ago. He had burns on his knuckles that looked new. He stared at the wall when he spoke, like the words were written there. He said the first exchange didn't start here. He said it started on a line between 2 places that don't talk to each other directly, and someone cut the relay. He said the doctrine for years has been to hit the radar, then the runners, then the hands that can still push a button. He said decapitation is an ugly word for a clean process. He said the first lights we saw were not the last lights anywhere else. He said that after the first hour, it didn't matter whose launch order was whose, because the alarms had their own momentum. He said he had never heard so many emergency action messages in one night, and he hopes he never does again. He said he isn't sure if anyone told anyone to stop. Another voice from the hospital. A woman with the tired calm you hear in traffic controllers. She said they ran a model with whatever computers still booted on battery. She said the model told them the plume would follow the river valleys and pool in the low spots at night. She said the snow that fell wasn't snow. It looked like flour, but tasted like metal on the tongue. She said the Geiger counter they found in a school lab clicked when you brought it close to the air filter. She said the baby ward is quiet now, and she didn't say why. She said she hates that she's grateful for the quiet. I will carry that last line with me until I find a reason to put it down. I know some of you are angry at the silence from the people who are supposed to talk. I'm angry too. The governor's office put out a statement on day 1 that said, "We are assessing." Then the phones went dark. The county posted a list of warming centers on day 2 that were not warm and were locked. FEMA posted a graphic on social media with a cartoon that showed how to shelter in place with duct tape on the door. The site stopped loading after that. A city council member from York told me in a whisper that there was a decision at state to close bridges to stop looting. Then someone pointed out that the trucks bringing water also needed the bridges. The bridges stayed open until the first rush. Then they closed them anyway. A man in a uniform with no name tape asked me if he could borrow a car with gas in it so he could drive to Camp Hill to ask a question in person. He did not come back. If you're out there and you need to hear a voice that still believes in tomorrow, I do. I won't say it's going to be kind, but I know that people keep choosing each other. A woman on Green Street opened a cooler and shared ice with a stranger so he could bring his mother's insulin back to a safe range. A kid who used to skateboard near the courthouse taught 2 men how to siphon a water heater without breaking it. A man who stole a bag of rice from a ransacked store came back with a note that said, "I'll pay later. Please trust me." A clerk wrote "OK" on a sticky note and put it on the door. This is how we stay human. We take the small risks that remind us we still can. I have to talk about the blackouts in the media because the absence is a map. The stations that run on big towers and big budgets went dark first. The small college station in Carlisle stayed up for an extra day because the student who runs the place knows where the key is and how to whisper sweet things to a sick generator. The feed from the city's emergency channel started repeating the same 22 seconds of a captain clearing his throat and saying, "Stand by for," and then it looped, and it looped, and finally a man I don't know cut the wire. He said it was cruel to keep the loop alive. I disagreed. Then I agreed, because sometimes mercy is quiet. If you find a station repeating the same message, write it down once and then turn the dial. The truth is moving. It doesn't sit in a loop like that. I keep a notebook of survivor calls so I can hold them up to the light later and see the pattern. 3 nights ago, a man from South Camden named Trey called on a signal so thin I could barely hear him. He said the ferry dock was gone and the river was full of trucks that didn't belong in water. He said he saw 4 men wearing surgical masks kick down a door and carry out a freezer chest. He followed at a distance until they set it down in a yard and opened it, and inside were bags of meat, some still half frozen, and he cried because for a minute he thought it was something else. He laughed at himself, and then he cried again because he realized he didn't know where the meat came from either. He said he hates himself for not asking. I told him he did fine. A day later, a call from a woman in Ashburn, Virginia, low ground near the big data farms. She said the lights that used to make the clouds glow are all out now, and the town looks like a photograph from 100 years ago. She said she never thought she'd miss light pollution. She said she can see the stars again when the haze clears, and she doesn't know their names, and that scares her more than the dark. I'm tired. I don't hide it. The back of my neck is raw from sleeping against a rack panel with a burr that catches my collar. I lost my sense of time somewhere around day 3 when I started napping in 20-minute pieces like a long-haul driver. I will keep going. When I started this, I told myself I would speak until my voice went, or the signal did. The signal's weak, but alive. My voice cracks because I don't drink enough water that isn't coffee, but it still works. When I fold, I think about my mother 3 hours to the north with a pantry of preserves she never let me tease her about, who always kept a second kettle off to the side like she was waiting for a day when the stove would matter more than the TV. I think of a promise I made to a stranger in a basement that I would tell the truth, even if it hurt, and even if no one was left to tell me I did it right. I will put down some practicals now, because information you can act on is as warm as a blanket. If your Geiger counter is a toy, don't trust it. If you don't have one, don't panic. Avoid dust that looks like flour on the ground or on windowsills. Do not sweep it. Dab, don't wipe. Use damp cloths to lift it. Bag the cloth. Keep your shoes by the door and change them if you go outside and then come back in. If you have kids, draw a line with tape on the floor and call it the outside line. Make it a game. Keep them behind it until you've changed. If you have a basement, sleep there. If you don't, pick the room with the least windows and the most walls between you and outside. Stack heavy books and water jugs against the exterior wall if you can. Every inch of mass helps. Keep your food covered, not because of rats, though that too, but because dust settles even when you think you've sealed the room. If you're short on light, a glass bottle with water and a phone LED pressed against it will magnify the glow and save your battery. If you still have gas coming to your stove, test it once and then shut it off at the valve. Leaks are worse than hunger. Save a trickle of clean water in the tank of your toilet with a Ziploc bag to keep the rubber seals from drying out. If you have to leave a note for someone, tape it high near the ceiling. Mice can't read, but water climbs. I can feel the signal slurring a little. That means the inverter is complaining. Before I lose you, a couple more reports. Mark in Amarillo, Texas. If you're still on that back porch where you said you can see down the block to a Waffle House sign that refused to go dark through the worst of it, you said it finally gave up last night. You said the last word lit was HOUS. You said you stood in the parking lot and watched a kid toss a basketball underhand against a dead window and catch it over and over, not breaking the glass, not trying to, just moving in the dark because it felt good to listen to the rubber. You said his mother sat on a curb with an empty purse and what might have been a recipe for cornbread in her lap, tracing the words with her finger. And you asked if you should go talk to them. I told you yes. If you did, call me back and tell me how that went, because inside that small story is the whole of what we are right now. I haven't said where I was when the first rumors of strikes overseas rolled in. I was in a stairwell between floors because the vending machine in the lobby had toppled over and blocked the door. I had a backpack with a bag of rice and a box of matches and an old car radio with broken presets. I sat on the third step and turned the dial with my thumbnail because the knob was missing. Stations came and went. A man with a Scottish accent reading numbers. A woman whispering a prayer in Spanish. A clock tick that didn't belong to my radio. The deep, slow beat of a generator again, like a ship that decided to sit in the sky. People make fun of radio when the world is safe. They say it's old. They say it's for old men and long drives. The thing about old tech is that it's stubborn. It will crawl on its belly to get a word to another human long after the fancy stuff has given up. There's a theory from a friend who used to fix repeater towers in New Jersey that I need to lay down because it has the ring of a thing you'll want to tell someone at 2 a.m. He said, when the first exchange lit up the sky, a lot of the big nodes shut down on purpose, not because they were hit, but because their operators believed a lie that shutting down would make them invisible. He said systems are made by people who build in comfort where they can, and that comfort looks like switches you can flip when you're scared. He thinks men in rooms with no windows flipped those switches, and then they found out that turning the lights back on was harder than they remembered. He said he's angry at them, but he understands them, because fear makes you want to make a big thing small. He said he hopes someone in one of those rooms is brave enough to flip a switch back up and admit they were wrong. Before I let the battery rest, a word to anyone in uniform who might be listening. I am not your enemy. The people on this frequency are not your enemy. If you're told to clear a building where someone is boiling water and reading to a child, lie. Say you checked. Keep moving. If you're told to seize food, take 20% and leave 80%. If you're told to shut down a station, and I know you will be, ask yourself who benefits from less voice, less truth, less warmth. Then make your own call. You wore the uniform because you wanted to keep people safe. Keep doing that. If it means looking the other way while someone plugs a crock pot into an outlet you're guarding, look the other way. Time check. 4:41 a.m. The sky behind the ridge is a shade lighter, but that could be the dust finding a new level. The pigeons that live in the cracks of the concrete flood wall haven't moved. The word I want to use is stillness, but it's not still out there. It's just slow. Slow like honey that sat in a cold pantry. Slow like when you try to remember a name and you know the first letter and your brain is walking to the shelf where the rest of it lives. We are not done. We are not safe. We are not alone. I'll stay on the air another 20 minutes before I let the rack cool. If the inverter kicks off, I'll short it back on with the screwdriver that smells like pennies. If you are within 50 miles and you have a working CB, I'm listening on channel 19 at the top of the hour. If you have nothing but a candle and a window, put the candle behind the glass. It will look like a person lives there. It will tell somebody walking by that the world didn't take all of us. If you have a pencil, write down 3 names you remember from the last week that you didn't know before. Say them out loud. People shouldn't vanish inside your head like vapor. This is Mason Reed in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, transmitting on 5:40 a.m. and pushing what I can to 6.920 when the sky allows. If you can still see the Susquehanna from your window, tell me what it looks like where you are. If you're waking in a town I've never seen, tell me what wakes with you. If you're in a city that used to hum like a beehive, tell me what it sounds like now. I'll be here. As long as the wall clock stutters, and the red light holds, and the wires keep pretending they were meant for this. I'm going to read a list of places I've heard in the last 24 hours, so you know the dots on the map have not all gone gray. Toledo, Camden, Ashburn, Altoona, Wheeling, Detroit, a farm outside Hershey, where the cows are calm, even though the people aren't. A sunken street in Allentown, where the steam pipes make little ghosts every time a manhole cover lifts and sets back down. A cul-de-sac near Scranton, where someone taped a note to a mailbox that says, "Trade, 4 candles for 2 batteries." The world is holding on in pieces. Sometimes pieces are enough. If you're new to this broadcast, write this down. Low ground collects the bad stuff. High ground collects the wind. Choose by the day. Eat anything that used to be sealed in glass if it isn't broken. Boil for longer than you think you need to. Keep a ledger if you barter. It makes you look serious and keeps things calm. Don't run your generator at night if you can help it. People hear hunger louder in the dark. Share a little more than you think you can. And once a day, even if it's only for 5 minutes, laugh at something stupid. I saw a squirrel try to carry a whole bun yesterday and fall off a ledge because it refused to let go. I laughed so hard I scared myself. The laugh didn't fix anything. It made space around the fear so I could breathe. The battery icon is lying to me again, but I'll risk one more report. A man who said he used to sit in a room in Omaha with no windows, and a red phone reached me with a signal that sounded like it was dragging itself across gravel. He said the most surprising thing about the last week wasn't the strikes, or the maps, or the protocols. It was how polite the end of the world tried to be at first. Systems offered warnings in calm voices. Emails arrived with bullet points. Press releases used words like temporary and adaptive and out of an abundance of caution. He said he watched a country try to keep its tie straight while its house burned. He said he wanted to scream. He said he didn't. He said he is screaming now into any wire that will take it. Here is me, carrying one end of that scream to you. I'm going to sign off the top carrier soon to save what's left for sunrise. If you need me, I'll try to be back on at 6 a.m. Between now and then, if your mind won't quiet, count the things you still have that the dark can't take. A name, a story, a way to heat water, the hand of someone who trusts you, a stranger who sounds like a friend on a radio you found under a bed. Hold those like you would hold a match in the wind. This is Mason, Harrisburg, 5:40 a.m., 6.920 shortwave when the sky is kind. Stay low, stay warm. Don't give up your voice. If you can hear me, I can hear you, even if you never say a word. It's 6:07 a.m. now. The relay light came back on after I kicked the base of the rack twice, so I'm taking that as a sign that we're not done yet. The wind outside sounds wrong. Not strong. Just wrong. Like it's brushing over a landscape that isn't the same shape it used to be. The flagpole across the parking lot still has a banner hanging from it, but it's shredded in a way that makes it hum instead of flap. Every time it hums, I think someone's calling my name. I've been awake most of the night, piecing together what fragments still come through on the shortwave. A man in Ontario sent bursts of Morse on 7.045, spaced out every half hour. 3 letters only. HVA. He didn't sign it. I checked a list of codes from before the net went dark. It's not a standard call. Could mean have, could be someone's initials, could mean nothing. But around 4:58, someone else answered him from somewhere south of Pittsburgh. Same keying pattern, same spacing, the same 3 letters. It's like ghosts saying each other's names. To the ones who've been writing things on paper and leaving them in windows, keep doing that. Paper still outlives power. If you have a Sharpie, write the date. If someone finds it later, they'll know the day hope was still alive in your street. A few reports came through before dawn. I'll read them slow so you can copy. Scranton. Water brown but still flowing. We sleep in the old coal museum basement. Kids have fevers, but we laugh so they don't notice. Cleveland outskirts. Saw planes last night. No lights. Flying low. One crashed near the lake. No one approached. Binghamton. Ham repeater 146.94 active again. Someone loops gospel songs. Sounds alive even when you hate it. That last one hit me harder than it should have. There's something honest about a song that survives longer than a government. I found an old emergency manual here in the station office. It's from the 70s, yellow pages, smells like mold. One section is about post-strike continuity. It says, if morale cannot be restored, substitute morale with ritual. I think that's what we're doing. Making rituals out of survival. Lighting a candle at a certain hour, boiling water twice, saying names of strangers into the static. None of it fixes the world, but it keeps us inside it. At 5:33, I heard a faint carrier tone on 10.210 megahertz, then a voice that broke apart mid-sentence. 50 kilometers of corridor still viable. East wind bringing contamination inland. Repeat, stay out of river valleys. The transmission ended mid-breath. If anyone listening knows where that corridor is, write it on your wall. Someone left a can of peaches by the station door last night with a note that said, "For the voice." I didn't hear them come. It's the first act of kindness I've had in 3 days. I sat here with the spoon still cold from the tin and realized I hadn't tasted sweetness since before the sky changed. Whoever you are, thank you. You reminded me I'm not broadcasting into nothing. Before I lose the line again, here's what I've learned about fallout over the last 11 days from calls and scraps of data. The heaviest dust settles first, within the first day. That means if you've made it this far, what's left is slower, smaller, but still cruel. Rain brings it down again. Don't let the rain fool you. Cover buckets, seal barrels, tilt the tarp so it runs away from where you live. When you touch metal that's been outside, wash your hands even if there's no soap. Use dirt, ash, anything dry. It's not perfect, but it's something. And if your power comes back for a few minutes, don't use it to scroll old messages. Use it to charge. Use it to copy notes. Use it to run your fridge long enough to keep meat cold. Every joule matters. I keep hearing rumors that Washington sent a signal from deep bunkers, a pulse meant for the emergency alert network. Some say it was supposed to reset every surviving broadcast tower to transmit a single phrase, "Union persists." I've yet to catch that pulse. Maybe it never left. Maybe someone higher up decided that silence was cleaner than hope that fails. You've asked in letters why I keep talking. The answer is simple. Silence feels like permission for this to finish us. Noise, even broken, imperfect noise, keeps the world awake. I'm going to open the CB line for call-ins again now. If you can reach me, use your first name and your city. If your city doesn't exist anymore, say the last one you remember. Okay. First one's faint but readable. Go ahead. Caller. This is Luke. North Baltimore. We built a wall of sandbags on the second floor of a school. We sleep behind desks. There's 10 of us left. The little ones ask if the sun's broken. We tell them it's just resting. Mason. Luke, if you can hear me, tell them the sun is stubborn. It's hidden, not gone. Keep the desks stacked. They're dense wood. Heat rises. Stay low when you sleep. And thank you for staying human out there. Another call. Weaker. Caller. Name's Abby. South of Syracuse. I think the cows are dying standing up. Their eyes, they don't blink. I heard thunder last night, but no clouds. Mason. Abby, that sound wasn't thunder. It's the sky talking back to the ground. Stay indoors. If it happens again, don't go near the fields. There's a weight that builds after each voice, like the static itself is mourning. But every call proves the map isn't empty yet. It's light now, sort of. The glow on the horizon is copper gray, the kind of color that feels dirty to look at. The pigeons finally moved. They flew in tight circles and landed right back on the same ledge, confused. Maybe they're smarter than us. They don't go far. I'll stay on until the inverter trips again. Then I'll rest my eyes, 15 minutes at most. This frequency's yours until I come back. Write down what you hear. Pass it on. Because if the world is going to end, it shouldn't end quietly. Mason Reed, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 5:40 a.m. 6.920 shortwave when the sky cooperates. If you can still move, move toward kindness. That's all that's left to aim for. It's 7:02 now. The world outside the window looks like someone dragged a dirty brush across the sky. Gray on gray. No edges. I slept for maybe 9 minutes before a noise woke me. It wasn't thunder. It was smaller, closer. The kind of thump you feel in your ribs first and hear after. The kind that makes the dust fall from the ceiling like it's afraid of what's coming next. I walked to the stairwell and looked through the cracked glass. The parking lot's flooded halfway up the tires of the cars that don't belong to anyone anymore. The water isn't clear. It's dark, thick, with a shimmer that looks metallic. I touched a drop on the railing and it left a film on my finger. I wiped it on my jeans, but it's still there. I turned on the old transistor I keep for scanning local chatter. Harrisburg PD's last repeater cut off around 6:40. Just a dead carrier now. A different voice, maybe a mile away, keeps calling numbers. I think he's reading radiation counts, but the mic's too dirty to be sure. I'll try to clean the feed later. There's smoke to the west again, the kind that hangs low, not the quick rising kind that means a house fire. Someone said last night on the CB that the fuel depot off Cameron Street went up. If that's true, the air here's going to taste worse soon. I got a weak signal from across the river. Marissa in Lemoyne. She said the bridges are closed with city buses parked sideways across them. Someone spray-painted "No Entry" on the side of one bus, in letters so big it took the whole length of it. She said she saw soldiers, but their patches didn't match any unit she recognized. They weren't wearing the regular woodland gear, more like gray. No flags, no names. She asked me if I thought they were ours. I didn't answer. Around 6:50, the radio picked up a burst on 11.175 megahertz, an old EAM frequency. One of the voices that used to be a computer, but now sounds like a man reading through broken teeth. It said, "Authenticate Kilo Foxtrot." Then silence. No follow-up, no format, just those words. If it was real, it means someone somewhere still has a key. If it wasn't, it means someone wants us to think they do. I keep notes on what time the sun tries to rise. It used to hit the window here at 7:12 sharp, cutting through the blinds and landing on the desk in a line. Today, nothing. The horizon is just a lighter shade of ash. It makes me wonder if the sun's even fighting anymore. I want to read something from a man named Patrick. He wrote on a piece of cardboard and left it under the door 2 nights ago. I didn't see him, but the handwriting shook like it belonged to someone whose hands didn't stop moving. It says, "If you have to choose between staying safe and staying human, please pick the second one. The first doesn't last." I keep that next to the transmitter. Reports, Dayton, Ohio. 2 reactors stable, 1 not. Sirens stopped on their own. Raleigh, North Carolina. Sky glows green after midnight. Dogs refuse to go outside. Chicago suburbs. Martial law radio stopped last night. Local police working with neighbors. Makeshift markets forming. That last one, maybe it means something's rebuilding itself. Small, quiet, stubborn. There's a guy in Lancaster, Rick, who checks in at dawn. His voice sounds like a cigarette still burning. He said yesterday they took the bell out of the old courthouse tower because people were using it as a signal, and someone high up didn't want groups gathering anymore. He said when they lowered it down, everyone in town came to see it. Kids touched it like it was holy. He said, for one moment, they all felt like they were in church again. I don't know if the government's coming back. I don't think they know either. The repeaters that used to carry FEMA's tones are quiet. NOAA's weather loop hasn't changed in 48 hours. It's still saying clear skies across the region. Maybe they left the mic running in a bunker somewhere. If you can hear this, write me down. I'm Mason Reed, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, still broadcasting from the basement of 5:40 a.m. If you find this frequency later and I'm gone, pass the name on. Don't let it vanish with static. One more thing before I rest the rack. Someone in New York sent a coded tone on shortwave, 3 rising pulses, pause, then 3 falling ones. They've done it every morning for 3 days. If you can record it, do it. I think it's coordinates. If you're still out there, breathe slow. Stay inside when the sky looks wrong. And if you see light, bright, silent light, don't look straight at it. This is Mason, still here. 5:40 a.m., 6.920 shortwave when the sky's kind. Hold on. It's 8:26 a.m. now. The hum from the inverter is lower than usual. That deep, pulsing tone you can feel in your teeth when the battery's almost dry. The red light on the rack flickers once every few seconds. It looks like it's trying to blink, like it wants to sleep. I don't blame it. I went upstairs earlier, just to see the light, or whatever's left of it. The air smelled faintly like burnt wires and wet iron. The kind of smell that means the rain's been eating metal again. Across the street, the old bakery has its shutters half down, frozen mid-closure. On the window, someone scrawled a word in the condensation. Open, I think it's from before. The handwriting's too hopeful. A few birds passed overhead around 8, slow and silent. Their wings didn't flap much. They glided, like they were conserving energy. One of them had feathers missing on one side. I watched it tilt and vanish into the haze. No official transmissions again this morning. The emergency weather band is just static and a faint rhythmic click, like someone left a metronome on behind the noise. I thought it was just me, but then at 7:59, a voice came through for a second. Radiation at 37 microsieverts. Winds variable. Containment breach unconfirmed. Then gone. It wasn't from here. Sounded Midwest. Maybe Chicago. The landlines are gone completely now, even the fallback analog ones. But I still have a few survivor signals trickling in. I'll read them out. Teresa. Eerie. We're rationing. Boil snow water twice. Children coughing less. Mike, near Scranton. Highway blocked by convoy. No insignia. Trucks clean, new tires. They took fuel from every parked car. Left the keys. Doc, Boston. Hospitals closed. Basement clinics forming. Radiation burns on hands and neck increasing. Doc said something that's been echoing in my head since last night. He said, "It's not just fallout. It's memory that's burning off." People can't remember what happened the day before. I didn't know what he meant. Then I forgot his last words mid-sentence and had to replay the tape twice to catch them. Maybe he's right. Around 8:10, a loud boom rolled through the east. Not close, but not far enough. The sky went pale for half a heartbeat, like someone turned up the brightness on the world. The pigeons panicked this time. They spiraled, screaming, and then disappeared behind the old post office. I felt the pressure in my chest. You always feel it before you hear it. I tried calling back Leah from Toledo, the one who said the river was carrying billboards and dead fish. Her line's dead now. I called 3 times, just static. I left the mic open anyway, in case she finds a way back. Sometimes people do. Sometimes the air surprises you. I found a Polaroid in the hallway this morning, under the front desk. It's a picture of 2 people, a man and a woman, standing outside the same building I'm in now, years ago. Behind them, the radio tower was shining red in the dusk. The back of the photo says, "First day on air. 2008. I stared at it for 10 minutes. They're both smiling. The kind of smile you give when you don't know what's coming. Another report came in faintly from Pittsburgh around 8:18. A man saying, "Allegheny burned out, river glowing. No word from command. We're heading north." I asked him for coordinates, but his signal broke before I could catch them. Someone else, no name, left a message on the CB repeater at 27.315 megahertz. If anyone's alive near Philadelphia, follow the red lights. They blink in groups of 3. That's not military, that's us. 3 blinks, then pause. 3 again. Remember that. I keep hearing this low, steady vibration at night, under everything else. It's not mechanical. It's too soft, too constant, like the ground itself is breathing. I thought it was the river at first, but it doesn't sync with the flow. It's slower. I can't tell if it's real or if I've been awake too long. Here's something practical for those still out there. If you're filtering water, use 2 layers of cloth, not 1. A t-shirt works better than paper. If you can find wood ash, mix a handful into your bucket before filtering. It helps pull heavy metals down. Don't drink rain straight. Not yet. Wait 2 days after every storm. The first rainfall carries the worst. I keep a candle burning in a jar beside the transmitter. Not for light, for company. The flame's weak but steady. It flickers when the signal's strong, like it's listening too. If anyone in the Northeast still has a working transmitter, try 5.355 megahertz at the top of the hour. It's supposed to be the coordination frequency for surviving broadcast stations. I've been calling every hour. No one answers. Maybe one day someone will. People ask what the point is. Why keep talking when no one answers back? The point is that talking means the world hasn't gone entirely quiet yet. That's reason enough. I'll keep the mic open another 20 minutes before the batteries hit red. If you can hear me, you're proof the air still carries voices, and that's more than enough to stay alive for one more morning. This is Mason Reed. 5:40 a.m. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 6.920 shortwave, if the sky allows. Stay low, stay warm, stay kind. I'll be here. It's 9:14 a.m. now. The generator coughed itself awake after 3 pulls. For a few seconds, the station sounded alive again. Tiny hums, soft clicks from the rack, the quiet growl of current coming back. Then the lights steadied to that same sick yellow they've been for a week. I went outside to check the antenna feed line. The street's half flooded. The puddles don't ripple like water anymore. They move like oil, slow and sticky. Every footstep leaves behind a faint shimmer that doesn't fade. A school bus is parked sideways at the end of the block. Its windows are fogged from the inside. I didn't go closer. I didn't have to. The sound coming from it wasn't voices, just something metallic swinging against the door, hitting again and again, steady as a heartbeat. The wind came up from the west around 8:50, carrying a smell I haven't found words for yet. It's like wet dirt and burnt plastic mixed with something sweet. I thought it was the bakery, but the air feels wrong, like it's trying too hard to be breathable. I left the mic running on standby while I went out, and when I came back, the tape caught a voice. You can barely hear it under the static, but I played it 3 times. It said, "Mason, you're not the only one." Just that. I can't tell if it was real, or if I just needed to hear it. The sky's lighter now, but not because the sun's out. It's a kind of brightness that hurts the eyes without warmth. The old thermometer says 52 degrees, but it feels colder. The air's dry, almost dusty, even with the flood. I tuned into 10.210 megahertz again. Nothing. Then 8.992 megahertz. That low bass note still there, faint but constant. If you have a shortwave set, try it. It's not random. Every 57 seconds, there's a spike. Someone, somewhere, is keeping time. The last call I got before sunrise came from a boy, maybe 15. He didn't say his name at first. His voice cracked mid-sentence like he hadn't spoken in days. He said he was near Reading, said his dad told him to stay in the basement, to wait until the air stopped glowing. Said his dad left 2 nights ago to look for food and hasn't come back. He asked if I thought he should wait or go find him. I told him to stay put. He didn't answer, just breathed into the mic, shallow and shaky. Then he whispered, "It's getting hard to sleep when it's never dark anymore." The line went dead. There's a pattern in the silence now. I don't know how else to explain it. The static shifts every few seconds, like the airwaves are breathing, like the empty space is trying to speak but can't find words. I recorded 5 minutes of it and ran it through the old signal processor here. The peaks line up with old military time intervals. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. Someone left me a note at the gate again, folded notebook paper, taped to the handle. It says, "Keep talking. We mark your time with candles, no name, no location, just that. If you're listening and you're scared, you're not weak. Fear means you still think the world's worth keeping. The reports today haven't been good. Hershey. Factory collapsed overnight. Roof caved. No survivors found yet. Richmond. Army convoy seen heading south. Locals waving white sheets from windows. No response. Burlington, Vermont. Power back for 1 hour. Enough to run heaters. Children singing near river. That last one's the kind of story that keeps the batteries warm. I think the hardest part isn't hunger or cold. It's how quiet everything is between the noises. That silence gets under your skin, makes you forget your own heartbeat. I keep thinking about what Patrick wrote on that cardboard. If you have to choose between staying safe and staying human, please pick the second one. I repeat it sometimes, just to fill the air. If you've still got paper, start writing. Doesn't matter what. Grocery lists, diary, song lyrics, recipes, anything. Ink lasts longer than memory. The low hum outside is back now, rolling under the river. You might hear it if you're close to the Susquehanna, that slow, pulsing vibration that makes windows rattle even when there's no wind. If anyone knows what's causing it, call in. I've heard 3 explanations so far: collapsing gas lines, aftershocks, or something moving underground. None of them feel right. I'm going to try raising contact with a group near Lancaster again, before the next battery swap. They claim to have found a working diesel generator and 2 trucks with fuel. If that's true, they might be able to power a relay. If they can, we'll have a link south again. Until then, remember this. If the air smells like burnt metal, don't go outside. If you see white flakes that look like snow, don't touch them. If you find a radio still whispering between stations, don't tune past it too quickly. Sometimes a whisper is all that's left of a person. I'll stay on another 20 minutes. This is Mason Reed. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 5:40 a.m. 6.920 shortwave. If you're out there, even just one of you, keep the dials turning. We'll find each other in the static. It's 10:02 a.m. now. The generator sputtered twice before catching. The hum sounds weaker today, like it's tired of trying. The sky's still that same pale, washed-out color, almost silver now. You can't tell where the clouds end and the light begins. I stood outside for a few minutes, long enough to see what's left of the block. The trees along the road are bare, even though it's only early spring. The bark's peeling like paper. Every gust of wind scatters it across the pavement like ash. The sound of the world is changing. There's no traffic anymore, no engines, no brakes, not even sirens. Just wind and that constant low vibration coming from the west. It rolls through the ground, slow and steady. Sometimes it feels like the earth itself is thinking. I checked the shortwave band again. Around 9:40, there was a clean tone on 12.191 megahertz. Pure, even, too perfect to be natural. It lasted 20 seconds, cut off clean. A minute later, another one, and another. Someone out there still has power. Someone still knows how to send. At 9:51, a man's voice broke through faintly. He said something like, "Corridor safe. 12 miles north of Lancaster." Repeat, 12 miles north. Then he stopped mid-sentence. Static swallowed him. If anyone near Lancaster can confirm that, do it. If there's a safe zone, if that word still means anything, we need to know. A few new reports came in overnight before the inverter dipped Rochester, New York. Downtown fire finally out. River thick with oil. No power, but solar lights still working. Newark, New Jersey. National Guard post abandoned. Handwritten sign, "Gone south. Too hot here." Norfolk, Virginia. Boats drifting with no one on them. Hulls glowing faintly at night. No noise, no birds. That last one makes my stomach turn. We used to think the ocean could swallow anything. Maybe it did. Someone keeps leaving notes outside the gate. This morning, the paper said, "Still listening. Still here. Keep the light on." They never sign their name. Whoever they are, they know where I am. I don't know if that's comforting or terrifying. I tried the CB frequency again just after 9. A woman answered from somewhere near York. She said her name was Rita. She said she's alone in a church basement with a battery lantern and a stray dog that won't leave her side. She said the pews are full of canned food and blankets. She said she's not afraid, but her voice shook when she said it. Before hanging up, she told me something I haven't stopped thinking about. It's quieter than death here. Like the world's holding its breath before it decides what to do with us. I wanted to tell her I understood, but the line went dead. If you're somewhere cold, light matters more than you think. Even if it's just a flashlight or a candle, keep it near you. When the dark gets thick, your mind starts building things that aren't there. Don't let it. Give yourself proof that something still burns. The static on 8.992 megahertz is changing again. The bass pulse that's been steady since day one has a break now. 1 every 4th beat. Maybe someone's adjusting the signal. Maybe it's mechanical decay. I don't know anymore. You start to lose your sense of scale out here. Hours blur into one another. Sometimes I'll look at the clock and swear it skipped 10 minutes ahead. Sometimes I'll talk into the mic for what feels like seconds and realize it's been an hour. Maybe time itself is tired of keeping up. The pigeons haven't come back to the roof today. I watched a crow land instead. First one I've seen in days. It stood on the tower rail and tilted its head toward the north, like it was listening to something I couldn't hear. Then it flew off in a straight line, fast, no hesitation. Animals always know first. A man named Carlos from outside Pittsburgh sent a voice message through shortwave tape relay. It was choppy but clear enough. "We have 20 people. 2 generators, 1 truck, staying underground in an old subway tunnel. Found a way to filter air through charcoal and water. If anyone can reach us, bring medical. Kids coughing blood, please hurry. His signal faded before he gave the rest of his coordinates. If anyone near western Pennsylvania hears this, try reaching 6.425 megahertz after dusk. His group needs help. I've stopped expecting rescue. I think most of us have. What I'm waiting for now is proof that someone, somewhere, is still rebuilding. That there's still a hand turning a crank, a mind behind a voice. That the world didn't die. It just went quiet for a while. If you're alone, talk anyway, even if it's just to the walls. It keeps your voice from rusting. The air's colder now. The wind shifted east. I'll keep this transmitter alive as long as the generator holds. The light's dimming again, but I'm still here. This is Mason Reed, 5:40 a.m., Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 6.920 megahertz shortwave when the sky allows. You're not alone. Not yet.